Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for our continued Advisicon webinar series. Today, we're going to focus on a newer tool within the Microsoft stack, and that is Loop. Microsoft seems to have a good handle on what people really need to get their work done. They've identified some of these basic components and positioned them web-based so that your teams can collaborate effectively and in real time with a single source of truth. Let's get into it. Here at Advisicon, we help organizations achieve greater impact by leveraging work management technologies to accomplish more with less. As work management consultants and technology specialists, our focus is on streamlining processes, improving systems, and achieving better outcomes. Let's look at today's agenda. We'll start off with what again are those necessary parts of modern work? What does the modern worker need? Then we'll actually dive into Loop and get some of the basic questions, understanding of what is Microsoft Loop, and we'll actually be demoing the tool for much of this webinar. And then, of course, we'll bring it all together and say why you should be thinking about using Microsoft Loop for your next work management engagement. A little bit about myself. My name is Sean. I'm a project advisor with Advisicon. I have a background in math education. I do have experience in implementing 365 as solutions for our customers. A decade's worth of experience. I am a PMP. I also have a MCP in Teams. And I'm a self-proclaimed semi-professional dad joke teller. Here's another one for you. You know, I used to enjoy those Fruit Loops cereal as a kid. And it's a known fact that one bird cannot finish an entire bowl of those beloved Fruit Loops, but two can. And here we are in Microsoft Loop. We'll start our presentation and we'll guide you right through using Loop as the tool. Okay, let's talk about modern work. As I mentioned in the intro, it seems that Microsoft has identified what are those key parts for the modern worker to get things done, and that being location 1 and function 2. Location and function, and especially cloud-based items, as the world moves to remote work and people need to work, wherever they're at, and not necessarily just on-site. Those things need to be cloud-based. So Microsoft has identified again location and function of the tech parts. Again, what are some of those deeper needs? The modern workers need one version of the truth. Let me come back again so you can have a cleaner look at that. All right, start again in 3, 2, 1. So what are some of the core needs of the modern worker? Of course, as you're working, everyone needs to be working from the same truth. Everyone needs that single source of truth. Otherwise, numbers can go off, timing can go off. So everyone needs to be working from that same place. Again, as I mentioned before, location. Furthermore, we need to be able to assign tasks and track progress across the team. It's a known business best practice that teams together will produce a better product than a one-person venture. So you want to share the load with the team. You can move more quickly, more efficiently, delegating assignments, but you need to be able to track those assignments. Furthermore, not only are you tracking assignments, you are also composing. In one way or another, every group composes documents of some sort, whether it's a record of what happened or that the document is actually the deliverable. There's always composition of documents happening. So the modern worker needs that. Going down the list, communication and collaboration is another need of the modern worker. We need to be able to communicate, especially in real time, and notify. One of the biggest features that modern workers need is to be able to notify someone when a change is happening, because there are so many items going on. We need to draw attention to our teams when necessary. And then lastly, down this list of needs is security. We don't want necessarily everything open to everyone because mistakes happen, and we just want to be able to say and audit what happened. So we need security or restrictions, define parameters sometimes with our workers. And so when it comes to Loop, I'm happy to say that all of these needs are met. Now, going down the list, how do you get started with Loop? Well, within your browser, you go to loop.microsoft.com, and depending on the message you get there, You'll know if you need to notify your IT administration to actually turn it on. As far as licensing goes, you do have to have an Exchange Online license. Happy to say that most Microsoft licenses, whether it be business or enterprise, do include Exchange licenses. The other requirement is that the user account is not a generic resource. It has to be a named resource. So most people can and should have easy starting capabilities when it comes to Loop. All right, continue on. There's this question of what is Loop? And if you ask Microsoft, this is what they would say. Microsoft Loop is a transformative co-creation experience that brings together teams, content, and tasks across your tools and devices. Loop combines a powerful and flexible canvas with portable components that move freely and stay in sync across applications, enabling teams to think, plan, and create together. I've highlighted some of those important words there. At the top, you see co-creation experience, right? That you really want to have a team experience to, again, produce a better product. You bring together teams, content, and tasks, some of those things I just mentioned previously that are needs of the modern worker. I like this next one, the flexible canvas. As you can see right here, we're in Loop, and it does have a flexible canvas. These aren't necessarily fixed parts. I can click and drag and move these parts around. So whatever might be of a greater priority could move up, and lesser priorities can move down. You talk about components. We'll talk next about what are those components of Loop. And then a couple more important items is to stay in sync across applications. And then again, to think, plan, and create together. I'll demonstrate some of the tools that are right out of the box that really make this a powerful tool that you should consider using. But first, let's go back up and understand what are these elements of Loop. Loop has really three main spaces. Remember, I talked about location of items. This is how the location hierarchy breaks down. Workspaces, then pages, and then components. Let's walk through that, starting with workspace. When you go to loop.microsoft.com, you'll start with your landing page. And here's where you see your various workspaces. In this landing page, there are 3 workspaces. Let's start with this one. From within your workspace, you have pages, the second hierarchy level. On the left-hand side, here's where you see all the pages. And here's where you create new pages. Again, this is that flexible canvas, just a wide open blank page for use. Thirdly, the next element is components. I've identified some of them as the rich text that you can use, and I do mean like bolding, italicizing, and underlining text. Furthermore, you have other components such as tables, checklists, bullet lists, and numbered lists. And then even within tables, you can have more functions such as identifying columns or naming columns to be text, number, date, person, voting, and label. I'll demonstrate those. And then lastly, one of the most important components of Loop is the Loop component, kind of the centerpiece of it all. And I'll demonstrate what that entails. Lastly, on this page, I want to talk about the Microsoft 365 connectors. Again, Loop is supposed to stay in sync across applications, and these are some of the best applications that Loop works within, whether it be from the top Planner or Outlook, Teams, or Excel. Those ones have the best connectors. But remember, we're web-based, we're cloud-based. So all Loop components, all Loop pages, web workspaces have a URL. So you can really put links anywhere you work, and you can find the workspace from wherever you work, whether it is within Teams or email. Your team can stay in sync. All right, moving on. Next thing I want to talk about is capabilities and app integrations, and especially right out of the box. Loop gets you started so efficiently. It's like Microsoft really understands what the modern worker needs. And I first want to talk about the templates. So I want to show you on the left-hand side here that you can make what they call sub pages. So all of these are pages, but they just are grouped. Maybe what I think of as like OneNote, how you can make sub pages. And there are 11 out-of-the-box templates, and I've picked a few here on the left that really highlight what could be a project life cycle. So definitely projects could benefit from using Microsoft Loop, especially with the templates right out of the box. Let's dive into them. If you start with a project brief, as it says right here out of the box, use this template to kick off a new project. So let's scan the page. I already demonstrated that this is flexible. You could move these components up or down. You click on them and you drag. Furthermore, I want to mention some of the features that are useful when it comes to working with teams, and that means group members. So you can mention others. So if I wanted to mention Patty, I just Patty, and now Patty will get a notification that Patty was mentioned here in this loop page, and Patty can get the update on what the role is, location, and core working hours. Notice that this is a table, and there are column types, and you can tell the column type by the icon here on the left. So these are all text because of the paragraph-looking tool there. All right, continuing on. This table here is it's another component called task list, and here I've assigned tasks to my team with due dates and their task assignments. Now, where do these go? Again, we talked about the 365 connectors, and when you think of tasks and assignments and dates, one of the more basic yet very effective tools that come to mind is Planner. Let's go dive into Planner and see, does this assignment, I'm working as Alan here, does this task come over to Alan in Planner? What does that look like? Here we are in the Planner tool, and when you create an assignment, there is a Planner board that spins up because of that, and from that task list that we saw back on Loop, a Planner board is here, and everyone that had an assignment has a task here on Planner. And the functionality works just the same. You can progress the board, you can add buckets as needed, you can group items as needed. So really that functionality is there. Now, if you've been using Planner, you know that there are benefits of Planner, such as the notifications that will come into your email that, hey, your task is nearly due. Also, another benefit is the centralization of all an individual's tasks within one view called Tasks by Planner and To Do, and that's found within Teams. Let's go there. Okay, we are here in Teams, and I've opened the Task by Planner and To Do app. It's found by just opening the three dots, and I can see that, again, working as Alan, the task of development, it tells me where it came from and the due date. So really, the 365 connectors are all lighting up, but we're starting right within that flexible Canvas workspace called Loop. Continuing on with our overview of the project, of the templates that come right out of the box, you can even develop a wiki. Here within this table, I want to demonstrate the custom columns that you can create. So I mentioned before that there are text columns, but there's also label columns. Let's dive in and show the column types. You can see them right here. And label specifically, there's two that come out of box, progress and priority, but you can create your own labels as well. What do those labels look like? They're just drop downs, and you can give updates to the team. Again, we're working as a unit, but flexible, and yet still in sync on the progress of a certain work item. As mentioned before, you can add people. You can mention people here in a list, and this one will bring in Adele. And then you can even add a date. So then again, this is more of a status tracker, not necessarily in a task list, but what's the assignment and what's the progress? Continuing on with the templates, there's a template called Project Planning, used to define scope and plan milestones. Very helpful there. And within this list, I want to look at the milestones table that comes out of the box, and how you can format even items within the cells of text columns. So this out of the box is they call it blockers. So you can start to list here items that maybe are blocking the progress of your item getting done. And then as you address them within your team meetings, you can check them off and know that, hey, those blockers aren't a thing anymore. Action Heroes was a fun label, and it refers to specifically getting assignments done, getting action assigned to team members, again, with the tables, with the custom columns and blockers. Team decision, I thought this was really helpful to when you're doing a project, often decisions need to be made. And I like that they say, you don't need to always have to have a meeting. Perhaps if the right content were laid out, you could then have team members in different time zones vote. That's what one neat custom column here is, votes. So you could label your idea, let's say more donuts for more productivity. Then you can add pros and cons, and then you can have votes take place. Another out-of-the-box template is the issue tracker. That was really good to call out that risk management is always important when it comes to project management. That'd be good to have a place to catch up on meeting notes with the meeting notes template, and how even if you miss the meeting, you can still catch up on things. And then again, you just duplicate it and maybe date the meeting notes. Lastly, with any good project, you have to have a retrospective. There is so much gold to be mined at the end of a project. Take the time to get a retrospective and learn what were some of the challenges and how we overcame them. Within this page, I want to highlight the really neat feature called boosts. So when it comes to a certain component, you can click on it. Let me click on this one right here. You look for the chat icon here. When you click on that, you go all the way to the right, and there's this item called Boost Picker. And you can say that I love this item, let's celebrate it, or check this out. And then what happens is when people come on over to this page, they'll see this and click and say, oh, let me take a look at what one of my team members thought was really important to look at. I've already talked about the connectors, especially with tasks when it comes to loop items being on a task list, and then how that goes to planner, and then even to task by planner and to do. But one of the centerpiece items is loop components, links that can be added anywhere. And then the loop component is visible in Teams, chat, and Outlook emails. Let me demonstrate. Okay, I have loop in 3 different places. First, in the Loop app, then I've taken this Loop element and pasted it in a Teams chat, and you know that you can use Loop because of the Loop icon that's found. I also added this Loop component to an email, and again, you know it's available because you see the Loop component email. So again, what's great is the up-to-date synchronicity that's found across all apps. So for example, with loop components, I can stay in sync. As you can see, it's updated in real time, and you never have to worry about your teams not being up to date. It's passing around the most up-to-date information. To round out our webinar today, I just want to talk about some of the use benefits. And really, there's so many useful benefits. I almost have to say, well, here's where you don't want to use it. For example, maybe if your project is in need of formal reporting, and that might look like maybe a little more metrics, a little more duration of hours and effort and things like that, then perhaps this is not the best tool for you. Remember, when it comes to a Microsoft set of tools, as you can see on the graphic, there are various levels of tools when it comes to measuring project complexity as well as the team complexity. You have to do, which is more like a one-person project and not much complexity, and at the other end you have project operations, which spans really the entire organization. Loop kind of sits right in that middle. It's a little more complexity because it can address documentation, but still uses the task feature within Planner. And but as I mentioned before, it doesn't have that same formalness that you find with Microsoft Project, when it comes to measuring metrics such as hours of effort and duration. So why should you start to use Microsoft Loop? Here's some ideas to think about. One, I hope you can see, it's easy to set up. Really, we're just typing here. All of these are emojis. They just look really nice, but you just add an emoji here just to make it look, again, that modern work and feel. Modern work look and feel. I already jumped out to number 3. But again, going back to number 1, the workspace pages, components, just really easy to set up. Looking at number 2 there, I demonstrated our up-to-date collaboration, that you never have to worry about if you're not looking at the current version. It's cloud-based, and it even happens in real time. And yes, there is a version history capability. You just have to open your settings, and then that's where you can explore version history. That was one concern I had with this being such a light tool. Is there version control history? Yes, there is. As mentioned already, modern work look and feel. That single source of truth, so important to a team to collaborate well. And then, as I mentioned and demonstrated before, the connectors across Microsoft 365 just make this a valuable tool for your team. Thank you for watching this webinar. Please feel free to reach out with any questions. Like or follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We offer many free trainings in our online academy. You can access those by visiting advisicon.thinkific.com. For project managers, simply become a member of Advisicon Academy to receive the code to redeem PDUs. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again next time.